Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to the Picture Show. I am Carl, and today we got a very special show for you. We're going to be doing a compilation, another one of our compilation shows, this time about some X-Men movies. So let's take a look at the trailer, and then we'll come back and discuss.
This is a different kind of superhero story.
And welcome back, folks. We are back here to talk about a little geek culture. That is our review of 3 X-Men movies. And today we're going to be looking at Days of Future Past. We're going to be looking at X-Men Origins Wolverine. And, of course, everybody's favorite Deadpool. With me today is our news anchor extraordinaire, Sarah. Who knew she was a geek?
Hi guys, I am a geek.
Hi.
I love X-Men.
You love X-Men.
I do. I really enjoy the X-Men culture and all the different powers and whatnot.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so how far back do you go?
Well, I definitely am embarrassed to say that I haven't read like much comics, but I mean I've seen all the X-Men movies that have came out so far.
What about the cartoons?
The cartoons? See, I can't really remember it too well, but I do remember coming home from school as a kid, and they used to have this one that would show on like WB or something, and I would watch that one, and I really enjoyed it. They were all like teenagers or something.
That qualifies. There you
Yep.
go. So I was going to run you off the stage if you were, your geek credentials weren't up to snuff, but you're good.
All right, good, good.
All right, so let's jump right into it. The first one we're going to talk about is Days of Future Past. The X-Men send Wolverine to the past in a desperate effort to change history and prevent an event that results in doom for both humans and mutants. Of course, it's doom. Yes, it wouldn't be an X-Men movie. It wouldn't be
Right, because
be epic.
everything's always pending on the end.
Everything's always got to be huge. So I'm gonna let you start first. About what were your impressions of this movie?
Well, personally, I really, really loved this movie just because I feel like out of all the other X-Men movies they had, this one just topped them all and made it really, really cool. Like, the graphics were good, the special effects I really loved. I really liked they had some new characters in there that I had not seen, which I did go look up that some of them are actually in the comic books and they were making the first premiere in this movie.
Yeah, in the movies, yeah.
So that was really cool. I just really like the layout of the movie, how they go back to the past and have to like try to save it. I mean, everyone kind of enjoys that Back to the Future kind of feel.
Yeah.
So, I know you're kind of skeptical about it though.
Again, it's really not fair. It's one of those things where, like, I purposely have not read any Harry Potter books until recently, so that I could enjoy the movies, unspoiled. Going in without a preconceived bias of it. Unfortunately, I can't do that with the X-Men. I've been reading the X-Men since I was a kid, or at least a teenager. Was a kid, and I understand how these characters are supposed to interact to some degree. What kind of people they are.
I heard that Wolverine in the comic books is different. He talks a lot different.
Yeah.
He's not Hugh Jackman, but everyone fell in love with Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, we accept that if your performance is so good that, and it doesn't take you that far away from the character, and if your performance is so good, it's okay. it's okay. We accept the fact that, this Wolverine is 6'2", and the real Wolverine is somewhere like 5'7", 5'6", something like that. Okay, fine. One of them's got sort of a weird Canadian-y accent, and the other one's got sort of a Americanized Australian accent. Fine. In the old X-Men cartoon, the pilot for that one, the guy who did Wolverine's voice actually did have an Australian accent too. Go figure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So that
that's a
makes
little
it
bit of
kind of
tidbit
fall
for
in
you.
line.
It does. We thought that was a nice. I say we. Those of us in the X-Men geek culture thought that was a great idea. What I didn't think was a great idea was just in general their mishandling of almost all of the other characters. It's almost as if you've got the outside of what a character is, what they look like, but then on the inside you don't care what the character is or how they behave.
They looked really great, but the
They look-
quality of
right.
their character wasn't there.
So if we get specifically into this movie, my first gripe when I saw it, when they started showing us, scenes from the set and whatnot, was the Sentinels. They look like, I don't want to say Tonka toys because that really dates me, but they look like toys, little plastic toys,
Right.
and they looked a lot better once you got to everything else.
See him in action.
Yeah, once you got to
more.
see them, they looked a little better when the CGI was done and the film was
So
done.
they were different in the comics.
Yeah.
Very
They were
different.
they were a lot different. They were a lot big. You know what? What was the one where they had them in the danger room? There was one of those other X-Men movies that I also hate. That when they were in the danger room, and they showed them, and the size was correct, the look was right. It was all that kind of thing. It was like they actually showed a scene in the danger room that looked like what Days of Future Past are. I tell you what we're gonna do. What we're gonna do right now is we're gonna take a short break. And we're also going to kick to DVDs, have a short review of DVDs this week with Cody, and we'll be back and talk some more about X-Men movies.
That was really.
You take 4.
Early start on our Funko weekend.
Kitchen, that's not what she said to watch when You sound fine.
It's fine. Everything is fine. I gotta go.
That was awesome, dude.
Shot 40, take 1,200.
Hi everyone, my name is Cody Vaughn, and these are the Picture Shows, DVDs, and Netflix picks of the week. New out on DVD and Blu-ray this week, Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was a self-centered New York surgeon robbed of his touch after a car accident. After a stint as a wandering derelict, he encounters a healer in the Himalayas and learns to tap into psychic powers to battle wrongdoers. This Marvel comic movie stars Benedict Cumberbatch and Tilda Swinton. Next, we have Ally, which is the story of an intelligent officer who encounters a French resistance fighter on a deadly mission behind enemy lines in 1942 North Africa. Reunited in London, the relationship is threatened by the extreme pressures of the war. It stars Brad Pitt and Marion Cotillard. Moonlight is the next one, a timeless story of human self-discovery and connection. Moonlight chronicles the life of a young black man from childhood to adulthood as he struggles to find his place in the world while growing up in a rough neighborhood of Miami. This Oscar winner for the Best Picture, Naomi Harris, Mahershala Ali, and Janelle Monáe. And now streaming on Netflix is Marvel's Daredevil. Lawyer by day, Matt Murdock uses his heightened senses from being blinded as a young boy to fight crime at night on the streets of Hell's Kitchen as Daredevil. With the rise of crime lord Wilson Fisk, Murdock eventually crosses paths with Frank Castle, also known as Punisher, a vigilante with far deadlier methods, and sees the return of his old girlfriend Elektra Natchios, and it stars Charlie Cox, Deborah Ann Woll, and Vincent D'Onofrio. Next up is Marvel's Jessica Jones. Following the tragic end of her brief superhero career, Jessica Jones tries to rebuild her life as a private investigator. Dealing with cases involving people with remarkable abilities in New York City, it stars Kristen Ritter, Rachel Taylor, and David Tennant. Last but not least is Marvel's Luke Cage. When a sabotage experiment gives him super strength and unbreakable skin, Luke Cage becomes a fugitive attempting to rebuild his life in Harlem and must soon confront his past and fight a battle for the heart of his city. It stars Mike Coulter, Mahershala Ali, and Simone Missick. Well, guys, that's all I have for you this week. Have a great weekend. Now let's take it back to the picture show.
Thanks a lot, Cody, friend to the show, and welcome back to the picture show. I'm here with Sarah.
Hi,
And we were
guys.
talking X-Men movies, specifically X-Men Origins, right? Wolverine.
No, I thought we were on Days of Future
Oh,
Past.
Days of Future Past. That's right. We're on Days of Future Past. I'm old. Excuse me. people. So, okay, Days of Future Past. What was your impression of Mystique? Because she, if anybody has ever changed from comics and even in the cartoons to the movies, it would be her.
I feel like Mystique has a lot of control. Like she's almost turned into like a very, very main character.
Right.
Because she's so close with Charles and Xavier, and I don't have a problem with that. I think she's a bad chick, you know.
Yeah.
She's got the mutant power. She becomes like a focus in the movie for the Sentinels because they get her DNA.
Right.
So they use that against mutants.
Yeah, they use her ability to shape change to
Right.
be able to use different powers.
I
against
liked
it.
that touch, I thought that was pretty good. I don't really have a problem with it, and I think Jennifer Lawrence did a great job. I think she kind of going rogue against Magneto or rogue against Xavier to go be with Magneto made me kind of sad, but she comes back, in the end
Right.
and does everything right.
Like I say, again, big deviation from the comics because Mystique is really older than Xavier or Eric for that matter. But I understand why you couldn't do it, and I also understand why you would cast Lawrence in this part.
I mean,
Because she was the new, and kind of in a way still is the new hot chick that everybody wants to
Yeah.
cast for stuff. And if she was willing to come back for a second and third or however many more she's going to do movie, that's great. I thought the fact that the Sentinels used her DNA some kind of way to become this I can kill any mutant machine.
that's not how it was in the comic book.
It's just lame. It's not. No, it was. Not only was that not how it was, it was unnecessary. And
I thought
think
their adaptability was cool. Like I thought the concept of like they've got her DNA so they could use the same function that her cells use to adapt to mutants. Like that's lame.
yeah, because that's not how her powers work. She's basically a human chameleon. She can change basically into any human being, more or less, her size, give or take 100 pounds either way.
Right.
It's not like she can change into fire. It's not like she can change into a dog. It's not like she can change into to anything that's not roughly human-ish shape. And so
I
to
can
make that
see-
leap from where I'm going to take her DNA and in only a few short weeks, I'm going to create this whole army of robots that can now breathe fire. What else did they do? Breathe fire,
They
some
could
sort of
use
rain.
they could do everything. They could like
and-
teleport,
and-
use ice.
and all that kind of stuff. That is a stretch that wasn't even necessary.
I can see that because they wouldn't really need her DNA. They just need something to like detect what kind of mutant.
Yeah, that's how it worked in the culture. I'm not even going to go.
You see, you thought about this way more than me. I just liked it for. I guess I was looking at the.
That's what I'm
face
saying.
value.
I come in with jaded eyes, and I want fan service is what they call it.
Right.
I get that from Avengers, even though it deviates too, but they deviate in a good way. I want fan service. I want you to take into account.
But it ends the way it ends. I feel like that's what gives it that fan
was a-
service because everyone hated the first 3 movies.
Oh yeah, because the continuity wasn't even at all.
The
I mean, it
fan
was just,
service was like, okay, here's a second chance. We wrote this in so we could pretend like all that other stuff didn't happen.
Yeah, that's true. I totally agree. And lastly, to end it off, if I'm going to get a whole bunch of mutants versus a whole bunch of robots, I feel like the mutants should last longer than a totality of 7 minutes. If I have Colossus, Iceman, Bishop, Warpath, Blink, and Sunspot with Magneto, even, granted a much older Magneto, but a Magneto inside, I feel like that's a few days they could hold off. I don't care what kind of signals you send out there.
They didn't give them the power level that they should have had.
No, and then they fought. The way they fought was just bad. It's like you said, well, if I overwhelm you with a couple thousand of these things, we'll eventually get you in 7 minutes. No, not those. If you said, well, I'm going to send out Kitty Pryde, and I'm saying who's another weak mutant, Toad, and
Sidekick mutants.
yeah, sidekick mutants like that. Yeah, like that. Yeah, they get taken out fairly quickly. But no, not these guys. It's just that's the thing that insulted me the most about it, just from an action movie point of view.
Well, okay, with that being said, you have to agree that it wasn't that bad of a movie. It might be very comparable if we're talking about now Origins.
Which we are about to move into next. Nice segue. So the next movie we're going to talk about is X-Men Origins Wolverine. Once again, I will let you go first on this because it hurt. It doesn't hurt my soul, but it does hurt my heart that this movie was made.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but that being said, obviously it wasn't very super memorable. I remember what was really bad about it.
Yeah, well, okay.
I remember that Deadpool was he wasn't what anyone wanted, and the Gambit was just horrific. And that was just thrown together, and I just feel like it was just like someone grabbed all these ideas and shook them up and movie.
The Wade Wilson that they had before they decided to surgically alter him was fine. That was great. That he worked with the mouth. He was talking and talked all the time, and that was dead solid perfect. I thought that was great casting. So
I'm thinking
you go
about the end part, I guess.
Yeah, I know. So I'm going. So you hire Ryan Reynolds, a guy who talked Van Wilder. Come on, he talked darn near the whole movie. And then the last 20 minutes of the movie, you sew his mouth shut.
Yeah.
Really? That
Yeah.
was your solution. That was your solution to get out of there. Okay. Well, I know what. I guess we better tell folk who haven't seen it a basic overview of what it was about. X-Men Origins was a look at Wolverine's early life, in particular his time with the government squad Team X and the impact it'll have on his later years. So I think one of the issues I've had with the comics and with the movies is that they actually told us who he was. I don't know that I wanted to know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with it now because we've been living with it for about, 15, 20 years now?
Yeah.
But back then, I'm going, some things just need to stay a mystery. Everything does not need to be known.
Well,
It's
some
like you
people
ran out
can't
of
stand mysteries.
It's like
Some
you ran
people
out of
hate the
stories
cliff.
and that's all. Oh, well, I know what we'll do. We'll make up an origin for Wolverine.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that some people just really wanted and craved that, though. Like, some people can't stand the cliffhanger. They want more character development and to
Right.
see how he really became Wolverine. Was that even how Wolverine was Wolverine in the comic books? I mean, I just felt...
I mean, once they made the origin, once they wrote it in the comics, the way they did it in the movie was fine. I mean, that was pretty much what it was. And all that kind of stuff. I can't remember if Sabretooth was, I don't think Sabretooth was that guy then, and they grew up and did all these things together. It's again, those movie things where we just can't have people just showing up and be your villain. They've got to be related to you in some way.
Right.
And related to your origin in some way. We already talked about the criminal misuse of Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool in this. But also about Gambit. You got a terrific character, one of the most popular X-Men out there at the time.
Yes.
Gambit. What about 6 minutes in the movie?
Yeah, that's what really confused me. Like, they really wanted to add him in, but it's like they didn't care enough to, like, give him enough airtime. I don't know. Like, I wanted to see more. And it was like, oh, hey, here I am in the middle of the movie, and here I am at the end of the movie. Bye.
I know, right? You went and you paid Will.i.am a ton of money to be Wraith just to get killed? The Blob, how long was he in the movie? No, Silver Fox. So, I mean,
At the end, Silver Fox.
at the end, Silver Fox, the thing that she laid on Stryker towards the end was terrific. You know, I tell you what, let us get the Hollywood Fresh report from Nina, and we'll come back and we'll wrap everything up and talk about some more. Talk about Deadpool.
Right. The ended good, right?
Right.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Hollywood Fresh. I'm your host, Nina Marie, here to recap some of the hottest celebrity news of the week. In Oscars news, turns out one of the tourists from host Jimmy Kimmel's skit during the show has a record and had just been released from prison 3 days prior to the show. Gary from Chicago was a hit with viewers as he mingled with Hollywood's biggest actors. But soon it was revealed that he served a 20-year prison sentence for multiple felonies. Gary insists he's reformed and has turned his life around, but I have a feeling if a stunt like this is ever attempted again, all involved will have to be cleared by background check first. In other news this week, Paris Jackson, the late Michael Jackson's daughter, has signed with IMG Models. The announcement was made yesterday, with Jackson saying she feels very lucky and blessed for the opportunity. Next up, who would have guessed The Walking Dead's Norman Reedus and comedian Dave Chappelle are buds? Earlier this week, the two were spotted as they filmed an episode of the AMC show Ride with Norman Reedus, which features Reedus cruising across the country with other celebrity motorcycle enthusiasts. Lastly, actor, comedian, and now director Jordan Peele's film Get Out has been a surprise success. The R-rated thriller revolves around the story of an interracial couple as they visit the home of the woman's parents. This thriller is the directional debut of Peele and stars Allison Williams, Daniel Kaluuya, and Catherine Keener. The film is currently out in theaters and is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes with a 99% approval rating. Now a look at some new movies out in theaters. First up is Logan, starring Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart. Next is The Shack, starring Octavia Spencer, Sam Worthington, and Tim McGraw. And finally, Before I Fall, starring Zoe Deutch and Halston Sage. That's a wrap for the Hollywood Fresh. I'm Nina Marie. See you next time. Back to the picture show.
Thank you, Nina. And we're back, me and Sarah, and we're going to talk, now that we talk about those movies that are questionable at best, now we're going to talk about Deadpool.
That movie is not questionable
At
at
all.
all. Not at all. I don't even know where to begin. This whole movie started wonderful. It ended wonderful. Everything in between had Deadpool written all over it.
Right, it was pitch perfect. The breaking of the fourth wall, Ryan Reynolds finally working so hard to get this movie. I think it was like 2-3 years.
Yes.
And Fox just said, just have it because we don't think it's going to do anything.
He is Deadpool. He's Deadpool comparable to how like Hugh Jackman is Wolverine.
I think actually closer, to be perfectly honest.
Very much closer.
I want to mention one of my genre crushes, Miranda Baccarin from Firefly and from Serenity, and she was also in Stargate, the television show for a while. She was on V, the reimagining of V there for a while, which was again kind of awesome.
Yeah.
And I kind of got a thing for her. So if you're watching Miranda and you're free this weekend, I could block out some time for you. What were your impressions overall of these three movies? I understand that the quality was at best varying, but what would you tell folk out there, fellow geeks, about these movies?
I would say, if you want to skip Wolverine Origins, you could skip it. If you want to learn a little bit more about him, but be careful about what you're getting into, you could see it. Days of Future Past to me was fantastic, the way they have the storyline set out. But again, questionable if you've read the comics. And if you haven't already seen Deadpool, then forget you even being a nerd because, I mean, who hasn't seen Deadpool yet? Francis.
Right, Francis.
What's my name? Francis.
Call me Ajax. Yeah, but yeah, I can't. It was really, my only thing about it was that when I went to go see it, and it's an R. It's not a hard R, but it is an R. And it's like, I went in there and like 4 rows in front of me, there was a couple with their 9-year-old daughter in there.
Yeah.
I was going, are you kidding me? Really? Is that what you're doing? You bring it. It's not even just the
Well,
language.
there was the
It is-
parents who were upset about the movie being so vulgar too, but those are all the parents who were like, here, let me just take the fact that this is a Marvel movie and let my kids go
Did you
see
not
it.
see that R? Big fat R.
Big fat R.
And then right there, language and violence.
And then they don't
sex-
know anything about Deadpool. They just think it's going to be another happy-go-lucky
Right.
Avengers movie or something.
All right. Man, well, once again, we are running quickly out of time. 30 minutes goes by so very
When you're
fast.
talking about good stuff.
I know, right? But speaking of good stuff, Logan, as Nina just told us, actually opened today, actually opened last night for those of us like going to early movies. But it opened last night. It is supposedly the last appearance of Hugh Jackman as it is derived from
Tears.
the old from the Old Man Logan storyline fairly recently in Marvel Comics. And so I don't know where they went with it exactly. I do know X-23, which is a female Wolverine clone, is in it. But I recommend everybody to go out and see it. The trailer looks great. Looks better than anything. I would pay money to see that trailer versus X-Men Origins Wolverine any day of the week. So anyway, folks, that's all it is. Thanks a lot for Sarah. That's all we got for you today.
Bye.
And we'll catch you at the movie theaters. Buy the popcorn. Tip your waitress.
Yeah, do that. Do that.